A man called to testify at the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, asked his accountant for advice on what to wear. "Wear your shabbiest clothing. Let him think you are a pauper," the accountant replied. Then he asked his lawyer the same question, but got the opposite advice. "Do not let them intimidate you. Wear your most elegant suit and tie." Confused, the man went to his priest, told him of the conflicting advice, and requested some resolution of the dilemma. "Let me tell you a story," replied the priest. "A woman about to be married asked her mother what to wear on her wedding night. Wear a heavy, long flannel nightgown that goes right up to your neck. But when she asked her best friend, she got conflicting advice. Wear your sexiest negligee, with a V-neck right down to your navel." The man protested. "What does all this have to do with my problem with the IRS?" "Simple," replied the priest. "It doesn't matter what you wear. You are going to get screwed." The other day, my neighbor, who is blonde, came running up to me in the driveway, jumping for joy. I didn't know why she was jumping so excitedly, but I thought, what the heck? So I started jumping up and down along with her. She said, "I have some really great news." I said, "Great. Tell me why you're so happy." She stopped jumping and breathing heavily from all the jumping up and down and told me that she was pregnant. I knew she'd been trying for a while, so I told her, "That's great. I couldn't be happier for you." Then she said, "There's more." I asked, "What do you mean there's more?" She said, "Well, we are not having just one baby. We are going to have twins." Amazed at how she could know so soon after getting pregnant, I asked her how she knew. She said, "Well, that was the easy part. I went to Walmart and they actually had a home pregnancy kit in a twin pack. Both tests came out positive." While teaching religion class one morning, Sister Bridget was speaking to her 3 RD grade class, and she asked the question, "When you die and go to heaven, which part of your body goes first?" Susie raised her hand and said, "I think it's your hands." "Why do you think it's your hands, Susie?" said Sister. Susie replied, "Because when you pray, you hold your hands together in front of you, and God just takes your hands first." "What a wonderful answer," the nun said. Little Johnny raised his hand and said, "Sister, I think it's your legs." Sister Bridget looked at him with the strangest look on her face. "Now, little Johnny, why would you think it would be your legs?" Little Johnny said, "Well, I walked into Mommy and Daddy's bedroom the other night. Mommy had her legs straight up in the air, and she was saying, 'Oh, God, I'm coming.' If Daddy hadn't pinned her down, we'd have lost her." A young couple decided to get married. As the big day approached, both of them grew apprehensive. Each had a problem they had never before shared with anyone, not even each other. The groom-to-be, overcoming his fear, decided to ask his father for advice. "Dad," he said, "I am deeply concerned about the success of my marriage. I love my fiancée very much, but you see, I have very smelly feet, and I'm afraid that my future wife will be put off by them." "No problem," said Dad. "All you have to do is wash your feet as often as possible and always wear socks, even to bed." Well, to him, this seemed a workable solution. The bride-to-be, overcoming her fear, decided to take her problem up with her mother. "Mom," she said, "when I wake up in the morning, my breath is truly awful." "Honey," her mother consoled, "everyone has bad breath in the morning." "No, you don't understand. My morning breath is so bad, I'm afraid that my new husband will not want to sleep in the same room with me." Her mother said simply, "Try this. In the morning, get straight out of bed, head for the bathroom, brush your teeth, rinse with mouthwash, and take a breath mint. Then slip back into bed. The key is not to say a word until you've brushed your teeth." "Not a word," her mother affirmed. Well, she thought it was certainly worth a try. The loving couple was finally married in a beautiful ceremony. Not forgetting the advice each had received, he with his perpetual socks and she with her morning silence, they managed quite well. That is, until about 6 weeks later. Shortly before dawn, the husband woke with a start to find that one of his socks had come off. Fearful of the consequences, he frantically searched the bed. This, of course, woke his bride, who, without thinking, immediately asked, "What on earth are you doing?" "Oh, no," he gasped in shock. "You've swallowed my sock." A husband and wife who work for the circus go to an adoption agency looking to adopt a child, but the social workers there raise doubts about their suitability, so the couple produce photos of their 50-foot motorhome, which is clean and well-maintained and equipped with a beautiful nursery. The social workers are satisfied by this, but then raise concerns about the kind of education a child would receive while in the couple's care. The husband puts their mind at ease, saying, "We've arranged for a full-time tutor who will teach the child all the usual subjects along with French, Mandarin, and computer skills." Next, though, the social workers express concern about a child being raised in a circus environment. This time, the wife explains. "Our nanny is a certified expert in pediatric care, welfare, and diet." The social workers are finally satisfied and ask the couple, "What age child are you hoping to adopt?" The husband says, "It doesn't really matter, as long as the kid fits in the canon." Murphy drops some buttered toast on the kitchen floor and it lands butter side up. He looks down in astonishment, for he knows that it's a law of nature of the universe that buttered toast always falls butter down. So he rushes round to the presbytery to fetch Father Flanagan. He tells the priest that a miracle has occurred in his kitchen, but he won't say what it is, so he asks Father Flanagan to come and see it with his own eyes. He leads Father Flanagan into the kitchen and asks him what he sees on the floor. "Well," says the priest, "it's pretty obvious. Someone has dropped some buttered toast on the floor, and then, for some reason, they flipped it over so that the butter was on top." "No, Father, I dropped it, and it landed like that," exclaimed Murphy. "Oh, my Lord," says Father Flanagan, "dropped toast never falls with the butter side up. It's a miracle." "Wait, it's not for me to say it's a miracle. I'll have to report this matter to the bishop, and he'll have to deal with it. He'll send some people round to interview you, take photos, etc." A thorough investigation is conducted not only by the archdiocese but also by scientists sent over from the Curia in Rome. No expense is spared. There is great excitement in the town as everyone knows that a miracle will bring in much-needed tourism revenue. Then, after 8 long weeks and with great fanfare, the bishop announces the final ruling. It is certain that some kind of an extraordinary event took place in Murphy's kitchen, quite outside the natural laws of the universe. Yet the Holy See must be very cautious before ruling a miracle. All other explanations must be ruled out. Unfortunately, in this case, it has been declared no miracle because they think that Murphy may have buttered the toast on the wrong side. An 85-year-old man was requested by his doctor for a sperm count as part of his physical exam. The doctor gave the man a jar and said, "Take this jar home and bring back a semen sample tomorrow." The next day, the 85-year-old man reappeared at the doctor's office and gave him the jar, which was as clean and empty as on the previous day. The doctor asked what happened, and the man explained. "Well, Doc, it's like this. First, I tried with my right hand, but nothing. Then I tried with my left hand, but still nothing. Then I asked my wife for help. She tried with her right hand, then with her left. Still nothing. She tried with her mouth, first with the teeth in, then with her teeth out. Still nothing. We even called up Arlene, the lady next door, and she tried too, first with both hands, then an armpit, and she even tried squeezing it between her knees, but still nothing." The doctor was shocked. "You asked your neighbor?" The old man replied, "Yep, none of us could get the jar open." A man goes to visit his grandpa in the hospital. "How are you, Grandpa?" he asks. "Feeling fine," says the old man. "What's the food like?" "Terrific, wonderful menus." "And nursing?" "Just couldn't be better. These young nurses really take care of you." "What about sleeping? Do you sleep okay?" "No problem at all. 9 hours solid every night. At 10 o'clock they bring me a cup of hot chocolate and a Viagra tablet. And that's it. I go out like a light." The grandson is puzzled and a little alarmed by this, so he rushes off to question the sister in charge. "What are you people doing?" he says. "I'm told you're giving a 95-year-old Viagra on a daily basis. Surely that can't be true." "Oh, yes," replies the sister. "Every night at 10 o'clock we give him a cup of chocolate and a Viagra tablet. It works wonderfully well. The chocolate makes him sleep, and the Viagra stops him from rolling out of bed." This is a conversation between a man and a woman. Please note that she asked 5 or 6 questions, which he answered quite simply, but then she was speechless after answering only one question. Woman: Do you drink beer? Man, yes. Woman, how many beers a day? Man, usually about 3. Woman, how much do you pay per beer? Man, $5, which includes a tip. This is where it gets scary. Woman, and how long have you been drinking? Man, about 20 years, I suppose. Woman, so a beer costs $5 and you have 3 beers a day, which puts your spending each month at $450. In 1 year, that would be approximately $5,400, correct? Man, correct. Woman, if in 1 year you spend $5,400, not accounting for inflation, the past 20 years puts your spending at $108,000, correct? Man, correct. Woman, do you know that if you didn't drink so much beer, that money could have been put in a step-up interest savings account, and after accounting for compound interest for the past 20 years, you could have by now bought an airplane? Man, do you drink beer? Woman, no. Man, where's your airplane? Patty bought a camel from a farmer for $100. The farmer agreed to deliver the camel the next day. In the morning, he drove up and said, "Sorry, son, but I have some bad news. The camel's died." Patty replied, "Well, just give me my money back then." The farmer said, "Can't do that. I've already spent it." Patty said, "Okay then, just bring me the dead camel." The farmer asked, "What are you going to do with him?" Patty said, "I'm going to raffle him off." The farmer said, "You can't raffle a dead camel." Patty said, "Sure I can. Watch me. I just won't tell anybody he's dead." A month later, the farmer met up with Patty and asked, "What happened with that dead camel?" Patty said, "I raffled him off. I sold 500 tickets at $2 each and made a profit of $898. The farmer said, "Didn't anyone complain?" Patty said, "Just the guy who won, so I gave him his $2 back." A woman and her husband are out having a few drinks. While they're sitting there having a good time together, she starts talking about this really great new drink. The more she talks about it, the more excited she gets, and she starts trying to talk her husband into having one. After a while, he gives in and lets her order the drink for him. The bartender brings the drink and puts the following items on the bar: a salt shaker, a shot of Bailey's, and a shot of lime juice. The husband looks at the items quizzically, and the woman explains. First, you put a bit of the salt on your tongue. Next, you drink the shot of Bailey's and hold it in your mouth. And finally, you drink the lime juice. So the husband, trying to go along and please her, goes for it. He puts the salt on his tongue. Salty, but okay. He drinks the shot of Bailey's. Smooth, rich, cool, and very pleasant. He thinks, "This is okay." Finally, he picks up the lime juice and drinks it. In 1 second, the sharp lime taste hits. At 2 seconds, the Bailey's curdles. At 3 seconds, the salty, curdled taste and mucus-like consistency hit. At 4 seconds, it feels as if he has a mouthful of nasty snot. This triggers his gag reflex, but being manly and not wanting to disappoint his wife, he swallows the now foul-tasting drink. When he finally chokes it down, he turns to his wife and says, "Jesus, what do you call that drink?" She smiles widely at him and says, "Head job revenge." 4 friends, ladies, meet 30 years after school at a reunion. One goes to get the food while the other 3 start to talk about how successful their sons became. No. One says her son studied economics, became a banker, and is so rich, he gave his best friend a Ferrari. No. 2 said her son became a pilot, started his own airline, and became so rich he gave his best friend a jet. No. 3 said her son became an engineer, started his own development company, and became so rich he built his best friend a castle. No. 4 came back with a plate full of food and asked what the buzz is about. They told her they were talking about how successful their sons became and asked her about her son. She said her son is gay and he works in a gay bar. The other 3 said she must be very disappointed with her son for not becoming successful. "Oh no," said the lady. "He is doing good. Last week on his birthday, he got a Ferrari, a jet, and a castle from 3 of his boyfriends." An out-of-towner accidentally drives his car into a deep ditch on the side of a country road. Luckily, a farmer happened by with his big old horse named Benny. The man asked for help. The farmer said Benny could pull his car out. So he backed Benny up and hitched Benny to the man's car bumper. Then he yelled, "Pull, Nellie, pull!" Benny didn't move. Then he yelled, "Come on, pull Ranger." Still, Benny didn't move. Then he yelled really loud, "Now, pull Fred, pull hard." Benny just stood. Then the farmer nonchalantly said, "Okay, Benny, pull." Benny pulled the car out of the ditch. The man was very appreciative, but curious. He asked the farmer why he called his horse by the wrong name 3 times. The farmer said, "Oh, Benny is blind, and if he thought he was the only one pulling, he wouldn't even try." Iron Man 3 guys were talking in the local bar. The manager was so sure that its bouncer was the strongest man around that it offered a standing $1,000 bet that no one could beat him. The challenge was that the bouncer would squeeze a lemon until all the juice ran out into a beer glass, then hand the lemon to the customer. Anyone who could squeeze even one more drop out of the lemon would win the money. Over the years, many people had tried this: truck drivers, weightlifters, and karate masters, and all had failed. Then one day, this geeky little fellow with heavy black-rimmed glasses came into the bar and asked if he could try the challenge. After the laughter had subsided, the landlord said that it was only fair that the man be given a chance at the bet, so he picked up a lemon and started squeezing. Once he was done, he handed the remains to the little man, who promptly squeezed out 4 more drops of juice onto the bar. Everyone looked on in amazement as the landlord handed over the prize and asked, "What do you do for a living that has given you such strength? Are you a construction worker, mixed martial arts fighter, or what?" "No," the man replied. "I work for the IRS." A man and a woman are seated next to each other on a flight. They start eyeing each other and both realize they want to do the same thing. He slips a condom out of his pocket, and she looks delighted. "Rear toilet," he suggests. 5 minutes. She agrees and goes off. He waits 5 minutes, then goes and slips in there with her. "Right, get that condom on," she says. Soon they are both sighing with pleasure, but a sharp-eyed stewardess has noticed them and decides to embarrass them. She makes an announcement over the PA. "To the lady and gentleman in the rear toilet, we know what you are doing, and it is expressly forbidden by airline regulations. Now, please put those cigarettes out and remove the condom from the smoke detector." Today, I was in a shoe store that sells only shoes, nothing else. A young girl with a tattoo and green hair walked over to me and asked, "What brings you in today?" I looked at her and said, "I'm interested in buying a refrigerator." She didn't quite know how to respond and had that deer-in-the-headlights look. I was thinking about old age and decided that old age is when you still have something on the ball, but you are just too tired to bounce it. When people see a cat's litter box, they always say, "Oh, have you got a cat?" I just say, "No, it's for company." Employment application blanks always ask who is to be called in case of an emergency. I think you should write, "An ambulance." The older you get, the tougher it is to lose weight because by then your body and your fat have gotten to be really good friends. The easiest way to find something lost around the house is to buy a replacement. Have you ever noticed the Roman numerals for 4040 are XL? The sole purpose of a child's middle name is so he knows when he's really in trouble. Did you ever notice that when you put the 2 words "the" and IRS together, it spells theirs? Aging. Eventually, you will reach a point when you stop lying about your age and start bragging about it. Some people try to turn back their odometers. Not me. I want people to know why I look this way. I've traveled a long way, and a lot of the roads were not paved. Being young is beautiful, but being old is comfortable. Lord, keep your arm around my shoulder and your hand over my mouth. The staff at a local United Way office realized that it had never received a donation from the town's most successful lawyer. The person in charge of contributions called him to persuade him to contribute and said, "Our research shows that out of a yearly income of at least $500,000, you give not a penny to charity. Wouldn't you like to give back to the community in some way?" The lawyer mulled this over for a moment and replied, "First, did your research also show that my mother is dying after a long illness and has medical bills that are several times her annual income?" Embarrassed, the United Way representative mumbled, No. "Or," the lawyer continued, "that my brother, a disabled veteran, is blind and confined to a wheelchair." The stricken United Way representative began to stammer out an apology but was interrupted when the lawyer added, "Or that my sister's husband died in a traffic accident." The lawyer's voice rising in indignation, leaving her penniless with 3 children. The humiliated United Way representative, completely beaten, said simply, "I had no idea." On a roll, the lawyer cut him off once again. "So if I don't give any money to them, why should I give any to you?" My wife took my phone and deleted my girlfriend Samantha's number and saved her own number as Samantha. Not knowing, someone had told my wife about Samantha, my girlfriend, but I did not know. I then got an SMS from Samantha asking for mobile transfer of 200,000 $. I rushed to my wife and lied to her that I needed 200,000 $. For an emergency. I told her that my mother was sick and needed the money urgently. My wife gave me the money, and I rushed to send it to the account number written in the message. She did not acknowledge receipt of the money. When I was relaxing at home after work, I kept wondering if Samantha had received the money. I sent her an SMS to find out if she had received the money. Her response was, "Call me now." I got out of the house to make the call. You can imagine my horror when my wife answered the call instead of Sam. It's been 3 days, and I'm still standing outside. I don't know how to get back into my own house. Any advice for me, please? It's about to rain, and I'm still outside my own house. A young newlywed couple wanted to join a church. The pastor told them, "We have special requirements for new parishioners. You must abstain from having sex for 2 weeks." The couple agreed and came back at the end of 2 weeks. The pastor asked them, "Well, were you able to get through the 2 weeks without being intimate?" "Pastor, I'm afraid we were not able to go without sex for the 2 weeks," the young man replied. "What happened?" inquired the pastor. "My wife was reaching for a can of corn on the top shelf and dropped it. When she bent over to pick it up, I was overcome with lust and took advantage of her right there." "You understand, of course, that this means you will not be welcome in our church," stated the pastor. "That's okay," said the young man. "We're not welcome at the grocery store anymore either." A blonde got tired of everyone treating her like she was dumb, so she decided to dye her hair brown. She went out and about in the world to prove that she was smart. She came upon a sheep farmer and thought it would make the perfect opportunity to show off her brains. The now brunette blonde asked the farmer if she could have one of his sheep if she could correctly guess how many sheep there were. The farmer looked at his sheep that were jumping and running about and thought to himself, "That would be impossible." So he allowed her to guess. After a few minutes, the woman correctly guessed the number at 129. The farmer was amazed, so he let her pick one of the sheep. The woman walked into the middle of the herd, picked up a fuzzy little critter, and walked back to the farmer. The farmer smiled at her and said, "If I can correctly guess what color your hair is, can I have my dog back?" Once upon a time, the government had a vast scrapyard in the middle of a desert. Congress said someone may steal from it at night. So they created a night watchman position and hired a person for the job. Then Congress said, how does the watchman do his job without instruction? So they created a planning department and hired 2 people, 1 person to write the instructions and 1 person to do time studies. Then Congress said, how will we know the night watchman is doing the tasks correctly? So they created a quality control department and hired 2 people, 1 to do the studies and 1 to write the reports. Then Congress said, how are these people going to get paid? So they created the following positions, a timekeeper and a payroll officer, then hired 2 people. Then Congress said, who will be accountable for all of these people? So they created an administrative section and hired 3 people, an administrative officer, assistant administrative officer, and a legal secretary. Then Congress said, we have had this command in operation for 1 year, and we are $18,000 over budget. We must cut back overall cost. So they laid off the night watchman. An Irishman walks into a bar in Dublin, orders 3 pints of Guinness, and sits in the back of the room drinking a sip out of each one in turn. When he finishes them, he comes back to the bar and orders 3 more. The bartender approaches and tells him, you know, a pint goes flat after I draw it. It would taste better if you bought one at a time. The Irishman replies, Well, you see, I have two brothers. One is in America, the other in Australia, and I'm here in Dublin. When we all left home, we promised that we'd drink this way to remember the days when we drank together. So I drink one for each of my brothers and one for myself. The bartender admits that this is a nice custom and leaves it there. The Irishman becomes a regular in the bar and always drinks the same way. He orders 3 pints and drinks them in turn. One day, he comes in and orders 2 pints. All the other regulars take notice and fall silent. When he comes back to the bar for the second round, the bartender says, "I don't want to intrude on your grief, but I wanted to offer my condolences on your great loss." The Irishman looks quite puzzled for a moment. Then a light dawns in his eye and he laughs. "Oh no, everybody's just fine." He explains, "It's just that my wife had us join that Baptist church and I had to quit drinking. Hasn't affected my brothers a bit, though." In Scotland, the most important time for a young lad is when he comes of age and is allowed to purchase and wear his first kilt. A couple of weeks before his important birthday, a young lad went to a tailor shop and found the material he wanted for his first kilt. He took the material to the tailor and said, "I'd like you to make me a kilt with this material here, and if you don't mind, I'd like you to make me a pair of matching underwear for it. I hear it gets a mighty drafty up dem things." So the tailor took the material and promised to call the young lad when the order was completed. A few days later, the tailor called the lad back to the shop. "Here's ye kilt, and here's ye matching underwear, and here's 5 yards of the material left over. You might want to take it home and keep it in case you want anything else made of it." So the lad rushed home with his order, threw the material in his room, and donned his kilt. In his excitement, he decided to run to his girlfriend's house to show off his new purchase. Unfortunately, in his excitement, he forgot to don his underwear. When his girlfriend answered the door, he pointed to his kilt and said, "Well, what'd you think?" "Huh, but that's a fine-looking kilt," she exclaimed. "Aye, and if you like it, you'll really like what's underneath," he stated as he lifted his kilt to show here. "Oh, but that's a dandy," his girlfriend shouted admiringly. Still not realizing that he didn't have his underwear on, he exclaimed quite proudly, "Aye, and if you like it, I've got 5 more yards of it at home." A young girl from Donegal leaves home to find work in the bright lights of London. She comes home 6 months later and steps out of a taxi wearing a full-length mink coat. "Begorra, Colleen," says her mother. "'Tis a lovely soft coat you're wearing, and it looks so expensive. Where did you get that?" Colleen replies, "Sure now, I won it at the bingo. Don't they have wonderful prizes in London?" When the weekend's over, Colleen returns to the bright lights, but she's back to visit her mum a few months later. This time, when she steps out of the taxi, she's wearing a beautiful gold wristwatch and a large diamond ring. Same exchange with Mum, same won it at bingo. Colleen returns to the bright lights again. A few months later, she's back. This time, she's sporting a beautiful emerald and diamond necklace with matching bracelet and earrings. She hands her mother £1,000 and explains that she won it all in bingo. Then she asks Mum to run her a bath as she needs to freshen up. When Colleen gets to the bathroom, there's only a 1/4 inch of hot water in the bath. Colleen, a wee bit peeved at her mum being so cheap with the hot water after being handed £1,000, calls downstairs, "Mum, sure now, didn't I ask you to run me a bath? There's only a 1/4 inch of water in the tub." "Indeed there is, me darlin'," replies her mum. "But we don't want you getting your bingo card wet now, do we?" Murphy from Dublin decided to expand the line of furniture in his store, so he decided to go to Paris to see what he could find. After arriving in Paris, he visited with some manufacturers and selected a line that he thought would sell well back home. To celebrate the new acquisition, he decided to visit a small bistro and have a glass of wine. As he sat enjoying his wine, he noticed that the small place was quite crowded and that the other chair at his table was the only vacant seat in the house. Before long, a very beautiful young Parisian girl came to his table, asked him something in French which Murphy could not understand. So he motioned to the vacant chair and invited her to sit down. He tried to speak to her in English, but she did not speak his language. After a couple of minutes of trying to communicate with her, he took a napkin and drew a picture of a wine glass and showed it to her. She nodded, so he ordered a glass of wine for her. After sitting together at the table for a while, he took another napkin and drew a picture of a plate with food on it, and she nodded. They left the bistro and found a quiet cafe that featured a small group playing romantic music. They ordered dinner, after which he took another napkin and drew a picture of a couple dancing. She nodded, and they got up to dance. They danced until the cafe closed and the band was packing up. Back at their table, the young lady took a napkin and drew a picture of a 4-poster bed. To this day, Murphy has no idea how she figured out he was in the furniture business.